Hello, Degens. Welcome to Degenerate Takes PLL Week 9 Power Rankings. I, of course, am the perfect one, AJ. And, it was a great week of lacrosse all around. Very competitive games, very exciting in general. I mean, the boys really came out and proved through and went through it this weekend. I'm pulling up excuse me. I'm going to pull up the final scores real quick so we can just run through those. But yeah, overall, it was a really fun weekend of lacrosse and one of the more competitive weekends I've seen in the past. A lot of really good matchups and some serious movement on the leaderboard. On my power rankings. Some will shock, some will not shock, but I promise you I have a good reason for every single one. Let's go ahead and take a look at what happened this weekend before we get into it. Archers and Atlas started us out right. Atlas going 14 winning 14-9. Whipsnakes barely beating the Chrome 9-8. Water Dogs coming out on top against the Cannons 15-14, and Chaos still kicking and screaming towards the end of the season with a final score of 12-14, them taking that victory. Like I said, a lot of close games. I did go 4-0 on my picks this weekend, so obviously stay tuned for this Wednesday where I will release my Week 9 best bets. Please follow, like, share, subscribe to the channel down below so you don't miss a minute of lacrosse action. But I think it's time that we go ahead and get into my Week 9 power rankings. Let's go ahead and get started with number 8. That would be the Cannons. Simple as this. They suck. The Cannons are not a good lacrosse team. I don't know what it is about them, but I feel like everything is just so discombobulated. Everyone is so confused with what's supposed to go on the field. I mean, saw Lyle Thompson with some great shots. He continues to be the only shining light of this team. But like I've said since the beginning of this season, you cannot win a game with one player in lacrosse. Lacrosse is a team sport. You got to be able to move the ball, got to be able to put it in the back of the net, and that's what I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing a lot of fluidity. I'm not seeing a lot of effort. The Cannons just seem like they are a rudderless ship who can't get it moving no matter how hard they try. They are my number 8. Number 7, that's going to be the Redwoods. Not saying the Redwoods didn't play a bad game this weekend. They just lost to a bad opponent. I thought I saw some uptrend there with the Redwoods last week, and I still think we're seeing that. We're still seeing them fight and claw, but I do think it's a little too much too late as we get ready to go into the playoffs. So, yeah, Redwoods are going to stick there at number 7, and that leads me to the Chrome at number 6, dropping there from number 4. Yeah, dropping there from number 5, excuse me. They are just starting to lose some of that steam. They had a really good opening to the season, then a loss or two before the All-Star break, and then coming back from the All-Star break, not really showing what they're made of. Chrome are kind of scaring me a bit. I'm not going to lie. I'm not really high on them. I wish I could be because they have one of the dopest logos in the PLL, but I just can't get behind them. They weren't playing their best lacrosse. A little sloppy here and there, losing some intensity towards the middle of the game, but we'll see what we can do in the next couple of weeks and see if they can regain one of those top spots. That leads me to number 5, and that would be the Chaos. The Chaos coming out of nowhere and really showing up and showing out and trying to get back into this thing. Obviously, the Chaos getting back a lot of key players from the NLL a couple weeks before the All-Star break. And so getting that chemistry and everything flowing, they found it again. The Chaos may be all the way back. We will continue to wait and see. But yeah, shout out to the Chaos for really going from worst to 5th really fast. And that leads me to my top 4. Some movement here in the top 4. One team making the top 4 that has not yet made the top 4. Let's get into it. Archers dropping to number 4 from 3. Rough loss against the Atlas. They were still shooting, though. I'm still high on them. They still had a nice amount of shots on goal. Just didn't see enough go in the back there. The Atlas are the superior team, it feels like, in the PLL right now. Just over everybody. Their record may not reflect that, but but anyway, I'll talk about the Atlas in a minute. The Archers, they can keep shooting and everything. Their defense does need to get beefed up a little bit. We need a little bit more saves from our goalies there. But the Archers are still in a pretty good spot to make the playoffs here at number 4, and I'm a big fan of them. I think they're doing great. But that doesn't lead me to the most unlikely story, I think. If you would have sat me down at the beginning of the season and told me I would put this team at number 3, I would have said you were batshit crazy. That being the Water Dogs. Yo, like I've been saying since the beginning, they are dogs. They are dogs. They like to stay in it. They like to scrap. They will scratch and claw. I mean, I have not once seen this Water Dogs team give up this season, even if they were getting blown out. The Water Dogs may be the sleeper of sleepers going into the playoffs this year, because if they can keep games close, it's their intensity, it's their passion. They want it more. It's simple as that. So the Water Dogs are going to take residency here at number 3 for me. I think they'll make a nice run in the playoffs if they can keep this momentum going, and I'm excited to see what they can do. They are dogs. Let's not forget that going into next week, and I won't forget that in my betting show, PLL Best Bets, this Wednesday. Please go ahead and tune in for that. But let's go to number 2. That's the wrong way to go. Number 3, and number 2 is the Atlas. 2-1 was one of the hardest. This is one of the hardest ones I've had all season, honest to God, because you have the Atlas with a 14-9 win over the Archers, who were number 3 last week. They are just the superior team. They are so good at everything they do. The fundamentals are crisp. The attack is clean. The shots are beautiful. I mean, the Atlas are just creating the space and making that ball go in the back of the net better than anyone else right now in the league. And you're seeing that with that 14-9 run. I mean, the Atlas, seriously, I don't remember where I had them in the beginning of the year. I know it was fairly low, but they have truly shocked me this season, and I love seeing what they're doing. They can keep it moving. They really can keep it moving, and honestly, at this point, they might be my odds-on favorite to win the playoffs. And AJ, you're like, bro, if they're your favorite to win the playoffs, why aren't they number 1? Well, that's because the Whip Snakes are number 1. I mean, I don't want the Whip Snakes. It's hard for me to put the Whip Snakes number 1. They're barely number 1 if we're going to be completely honest, because all of their games are so close. And that's what kills me about this Whip Snakes team. Overall, they are a good squad. You know, they aren't 2-time champs for no reason. They haven't been to the championship for the last 3 years for no reason. They are a solid club with great players, but there is something missing. I don't know what it is, but there is something missing about this Whip Snakes team that makes me know that this number 1 spot is in much jeopardy, because the Atlas are sitting right there. They are so much cleaner, so much more efficient than the Whip Snakes are, but the Whip Snakes keep figuring out ways to win games. And like I always say to Noah, at the end of the day, all that matters is the scoreboard, you having more points on there than your opponents. And the Whip Snakes just keep doing that. Don't get me wrong. I don't think the Whip Snakes will cover one effing game this season. I think they covered last week. I'm sorry. The Whip Snakes covered last week. That's their only game they've covered. I don't think they'll cover again. I don't think that we will see any major blowouts with the Whip Snakes. I think the Whip Snakes are good at keeping it close and just making sure they're ahead. But when we get into playoffs, and you're tied, and there's 2 minutes left, it can just take one lucky shot to bounce you. And the Whip Snakes do not have the ability to get that cushion of a lead going into a game, especially going into the last couple minutes. That does put them in jeopardy, but they're still my number 1. I still got to put them at number 1, but the Atlas are definitely closing in. And let's take a look at my full power rankings. Obviously, Whip Snakes number 1, Atlas number 2, Water Dogs number 3, Archers 4. That's my top 4. 5, knocking on the door, is Chaos. The Chromats 6, 7 are the Redwoods, and the Cannons are absolutely dead at 8. I'm saying dead. I mean, I know the season's not over yet, but they can't really do anything right now to get into playoffs. So right off the Cannons right now, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of younger guys get a lot more minutes, kind of like September call-ups for baseball, you know, and just kind of see what they can do going into next season. I can't believe we're almost done. I think we have like 3 or 4 more weeks until we're in playoffs. This summer has just flown by, but shout out to the PLL for just epic content all the time. I mean, the boys go out there and they give it their all every week. I'm so happy I found Lacrosse this season, and it's something I'm definitely going to be covering more into the future. With that being said, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. Go ahead and like, share, and subscribe down below. Help us fight that YouTube algorithm. And hey, by the way, we got merch now. That's right. If you want to be a DGen, you are a DGen, show that you're a DGen, go to the description down below, check out that link, and support the show. Buy some merch. And you can also follow us on the Twitter, the show at DGen Takes, myself at Brofict1 for all the takes for the PLL and picks. In case you missed them, go ahead and follow me on Twitter. I put them out there as well. With that being said, I've been the Brofect One AJ. You've been the Degens, and we will see you next time on Degenerate Takes.